Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? This is desperation time for the New Orleans Saints. There's just no way around it. You're at 1-3 on the season right now. If you fall to 1-4, you'll have 12 games to go. Even if you finish above 500, let's say 7-5 in those 12, you're an 8-9 football team and you're out of the playoffs. This game literally could be the difference between an 8-9 finish and a 9-8 finish. That could literally be the difference between being a playoff team and sitting at home. It was a year ago. So where the Saints were 9-8 and missed the postseason. And 9-8 may not be good enough. But if you lose this game at home as a 5-point favorite against the Seahawks, looking at what you have ahead, it is really, really hard to come up with any type of scenario where the Saints can get themselves out of this hole. We've seen them in those 7-9 seasons, the back-to-back-to-back 7-9 seasons, have slow starts. I mean, that was the hallmark of those teams. They started slowly, and then they sort of got their footing, got going, and it just wasn't enough because they had dug themselves that hole. This is the opportunity to avoid that. You have to win this game. A lot of people are going to look at Seattle at 2-2. They're lauding Geno Smith, who's been quite good, actually. Geno has thrown for 1,037 yards, 6 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. And I think a lot of that has to do with what the expectation was. So Geno's results relative to the expectation, a guy that really had just been a backup for the majority of his career at this point. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they've been a good offense, in particular against good defenses. They scored 7 points on the road against San Francisco. They lost 27-7. They played Denver and won that game 17-16. 17 points in an NFL game, especially in this modern era, is in no way something that you should laud. The Saints scored 14 against Carolina and 10 against Tampa. Those were objectively bad offensive performances. They scored 23 at home against the Falcons and lost. And the Falcons are not a great defense. This is not a great Seattle team. Scoring 48 against a pitiful Detroit defense in Detroit has skewed statistically what we look at with Seattle. But the thing that's undeniable is when you look at yards allowed, the Saints' defense has been very good. The Saints have allowed 100 fewer yards per game than the Seahawks. Essentially, Seattle is going up against a good defense again, and their offense has not done well against good defenses, and they are going to face an objectively good defense Sunday in the Dome and a Saints team that is desperate. I think Andy Dalton did very well to stabilize the offense in London. The turnovers obviously hurt you. The turnovers and the penalties were why you lost to Minnesota. That was a very winnable game, but turnovers and penalties cost you. I'd say the same thing about Carolina. It's a winnable game. Turnovers and penalties cost you in Carolina. The Saints need to eliminate their self-inflicted wounds. If they do that, they're a good football team. They have talent. But when the sample size grows and you continue making these mistakes, you are what you are. And right now the Saints are not a good, clean, consistent football team. So that's why you're sitting here at 1-3. I do worry about the travel. Playing in London, coming back home, having the quick turnaround. But the same is also true for Seattle, coming from the Pacific Northwest down to New Orleans. You come over 2 time zones. It does impact them to a degree as well. Earlier this week, we talked to Michael Bumpus, who was a receiver for the Seahawks, who does radio at 710 ESPN in Seattle now. He talked about how they would routinely get whipped when they would go from the West Coast to the East Coast because of that time difference and that travel. So I think in some respects that's a wash, and the Saints have an air of desperation about them, and they've got to win this game. With not a tremendous amount of confidence, I am going to pick New Orleans to win this game. I picked them to lose in London last week because I can't trust this team. And I don't know that I trust them, but I do think they are a desperate team that does exceptionally well the thing that has slowed Seattle, and that's play very good defense. So I will lean Saints in this ball game 24-20, The Saints get a win and then turn the page to Cincinnati, which is a completely different monster that they'll try to tame next week. Give me the Saints 24-20 in the Dome on Sunday. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.